ArchAngel Manga here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Taiyo Matsumoto's Tekkon Kinkreet Black and White. Funnily enough, this is actually a 3-in-1 volume pushed out by Viz. I just assumed that the whole Tekkon Kinkreet manga was originally serialized and published in one volume, but it's actually a 3-in-1, which that was actually to my surprise. This is something I've highly anticipated as I've seen it going around, the grapevine for many years now. The art style particularly is what captured me, considering that it's a manga which doesn't follow the conventions of manga style, artistically. It's got a really stylized approach to its to its visual quality. Taiyo Matsumoto, I think it was like in his 20s. He went on a few research trips to France and studied like French art and French comic art, and that has highly influenced his own art style, because his art style is basically identical to that of French comic art. On the inlay you get a nice poster here by the English release. That's just a good example of his artwork. Tekkon Kinkreet Black and White. As its title suggests, it follows the exploits of two young orphan boys, one called Black, one called White. Their names have significance to their personalities and how they interact with each other. They live in a city called Treasure Town, which we know in this world exists in Tokyo, so I guess you could say it's kind of like Shinjuku, in the fact that it's riddled with crime and gangs and yakuza. Lots of violence, things like that. And Black and White exist in this city, trying to protect themselves and survive, basically. Considering that they're orphans, they literally only have each other to rely on. They're almost like twin brothers, almost like Siamese twins. They both complement each other's strengths and make up for each other's weaknesses. Black in particular, throughout the whole story, I think more of the focus is on him, as he's the more pragmatic type. He's intelligent, he's very dark and serious. He's able to keep a calm, cool head in tight and harrowing situations. But I guess you could say his weakness is the fact that he doesn't embrace the fact that he's actually a child. He's wise beyond his years, yes, but he's completely disowned everything about him that is a child, and that's where White makes up for that, because White is very playful. He makes up songs. He tries to get Black involved in his little games and things like that, much to the annoyance of Black. And they're both basically just like each other's yin and yang. Like Black is the yin to White's yang, and they both complement each other perfectly, even though they're completely juxtaposed in themselves in personality, because they're just not alike in any way whatsoever. Black is violent. White is also violent. I guess that's really the only thing you could say that they have in common. But they both need each other to function and survive and to live. And if you separate them both, it's like separating twins. Both won't be able to function independently. And this is something we learn, throughout the story. It's about separation and willingness to be able to function together and work as an independent unit in order to survive, basically, because they come in contact with street goons, high school sort of thugs, and eventually the yakuza, who pose a massive threat to their sort of territory, because Black refers to Treasure Town as his city. He believes that everything, everyone in the town and everything that happens in the town, is basically his. He acts as sort of a dark vigilante, watching the entire town from like high telegraph poles, and basically like like Batman almost, watching the town and people's lives and the happenings of what goes on, in terms of crime from the shadows, which is kind of nice considering that his name is actually Black. So yeah, out of the two characters, I would say that Black is more interesting for me, because White just provides, you know, kind of temporal relief from the dark, you know, sadistic things that go on. I wouldn't say he provides comedic relief because, you know, his character is obviously very damaged and scarred, and that kind of shows through in the way he portrays himself. You know, he does have moments where he can anticipate things faster than Black, and that's something that's, you know, that's one of the reasons why Black also relies on White, because White has got better instincts and can kind of see how the world is changing faster than, you know, Black can. And yeah, basically the entire story is just character development for these two boys trying to survive in a city where they shouldn't really belong. You know, they shouldn't be in the situation that they're in. You know, they're 10-year-old boys, but yet they're having to live as adults, as, you know, not even as adults, as, you know, as predators in a city that rejects them. And, you know, Black and White are trying to keep their grip on not only, you know, a place that they feel that they should protect, but a place that they also feel is home. So the roller coaster of emotions in this series is, needless to say, all over the place. You know, it has its happy moments, it has its sad moments, and when it does have its sad moments, it really does kind of, you know, really grate at the, you know, the heartstrings, because, you know, I do feel very emotionally invested in these characters, and even though I would say that it focuses more on Black and his sort of state of mind and how he changes through the series, these changes would not take, you know, or come into effect if White, sorry, wasn't, you know, an integral part of the story. You know, overall, the overarching message is that it is very much about these two boys trying to survive. But I did feel that White didn't have much of, I don't know, centre stage, I guess you could say, because Black mostly acts as his protector, because he feels that Treasure Town is his city and everybody in the, you know, who lives in the city belongs to him. He feels that he is at the highest position of responsibility when it comes to dealing with White and, you know, having to protect him and things like that, and trying to shelter him from the, you know, the crazy things that go on in this city. But yeah, that's the main two characters. We also get to learn more about, you know, figures in the Yakuza. There's the Rat, who is a crime boss who was driven out of the city prior to the story beginning, comes back into the city to try and take control of things again. That's where the story begins. We have two police officers, two detectives, who are basically trying to keep the streets clean, you know, keep everything under wraps, and making sure the Yakuza and Black and White don't go out of control, because if a war started, there would be heavy casualties on both sides, because even though they're two 10-year-old boys, they could really handle themselves and, you know, kill many grown adults that are, you know, twice their size, without any mercy whatsoever. So the Yakuza, Black and White, also known as the Cat Twins or the Cat Brothers, are like the two major factions in this city that are kind of battling for supremacy over Treasure Town. So yeah, we have the Rat, we have his underling, whose name escapes me, but he's also a really awesome character. We have the Cat Twins, the detectives, and other miscellaneous like tribes and groups, street thugs, that you know, intermingle with the story in Black and White's lives. Although they're orphans, there's also an old homeless man who they go to, you know, if they need advice or they need, you know, an older source of wisdom, or just a confidant, you know, somebody to actually go and talk to. And he offers them, you know, certain sort of advices and tells them, you know, what not to do and who not to mess with, that kind of thing. He's almost like a granddad figure to them, even though he's homeless and, you know, an alcoholic himself. You know, it really is just a brilliant story. I was massively impressed with this. I'm kind of glad that I own a lot more of Taiyo Matsumoto's work now, like Go-Go Monster, Sunny, and Blue Spring. I'm going to be reading them in the next couple of weeks myself. Yeah, it's a fantastic story, and the character development that goes on between Black and White is just amazing. You know, because even though they're already strong and they remain strong through the entire series, they keep coming through challenges where they'll have like other kids from neighbouring towns coming to try and take their territory, or assassins from, you know, a major crime syndicate trying to basically cleanse their territory and get rid of them. So they do come across like, you know, various dangers where, you know, their lives are literally hanging on the brink. But they manage to come through it, you know, time and time again, and it just helps, you know, their resolve for each other, and how much, you know, it just makes them realise how much they know that they need each other. But yeah, without kind of spoiling anything, you know, I would definitely highly recommend Tekkon Kinkreet. I think Taiyo Matsumoto once said himself that he admits that he is the best when it comes to telling stories concerned around childhood or boyhood, you know, kind of coming of age or anything like that. You know, and I would agree to an extent. The ending was good and solid. I'm not going to reveal anything, but it felt a little bit too literal for me. Like there was no sort of open-ended questions. You know, all the loose ends were tied up in, you know, kind of like a neat bow. And that's something I thought was a little bit anticlimactic. The ending was good, like I said, but for the kind of story that it is, and, you know, how psychological and you know, how many sort of hidden messages it has in the series, I would expect the ending to be a little bit more open-ended, you know, leaving certain details open to personal interpretation. But for what it was, I appreciated it. So yeah, Tekkon Kinkreet. Considering how old it is as well, I mean, I think this was released in like the early 90s or around 1991 or something like that. It really does hold up to today's, you know, standard of manga. You know, it definitely has, you know, it hasn't aged with the times. It still feels as fresh and as modern as something that would be released today. So yeah, I would, again, highly recommend Tekkon Kinkreet or Taiyo Matsumoto's work in general. If you want to read something that, you know, contains heavy violence, great character development, excellent world building in a post-psychedelic neo-punk sort of setting, then, you know, Tekkon Kinkreet is just for you. So yeah, that's been my review of Tekkon Kinkreet Black and White. Tell me what you think if you've seen this, if you've seen the animated film, or if you've read the manga itself. Tell me what you think if you've read any of Taiyo Matsumoto's other works. How do you think they hold up in comparison to this, which is one of his earlier works? Pardon me. So yeah, until then, ArchAngel Manga, signing out.